The stars outside 7 Station never changed. Ho liked that about them. They stayed where they were, quiet and steady, while ships came and went and the galaxy kept spinning around him. Ho wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the old cargo ship he had been fixing for 3 days. The engine was finally working again. The trader who owned it would be happy. Another job done. Another quiet day on the frontier. The station was small, just a refueling point and repair dock at the edge of human space. Not many people wanted to live this far from Earth, but Ho had found peace here. He fixed ships. He traded parts. He ate his meals alone and read old books about engines and stars. It was a simple life, and he had made peace with being alone. His communicator beeped. The voice of Park Bin filled his workshop. "Ho, you need to come to the docking bay, now." Bin was the station's communications officer. She was also Ho's only real friend on 7. If she sounded worried, something was wrong. "What is it?" he asked. "A ship just arrived. Diplomatic class. They say they have a delivery for the station." Ho frowned. The Empire had only recently opened trade with humanity. They were a proud species, tall and thin with silver skin and eyes like purple gemstones. Most of them looked at humans the way a person might look at an insect. Interesting, perhaps, but not worthy of respect. "What kind of delivery?" Ho asked. Bin paused. "They say it is a gift from Emperor himself." Ho felt his stomach turn. Gifts from emperors were never simple. He walked to the docking bay and found Bin waiting near the airlock. Her face was tight with confusion. Behind her, 2 guards stood like silver statues, their armor shining under the station lights. Between them stood a woman. But she did not look like the others Ho had seen. Where most were impossibly thin, almost fragile-looking, this woman was larger. Her body was soft and curved, her silver skin a shade darker than the guards beside her. She wore simple clothes, not the fine robes of royalty. Her purple eyes stared at the floor and her hands trembled at her sides. One of the guards stepped forward and spoke in the cold, formal tone of diplomats. "This is Princess, 3rd daughter of Emperor. The Emperor offers her as a gift to the humans of this station, a symbol of friendship between our peoples." Ho looked at Bin. She looked back at him with wide eyes. "A gift?" Bin asked carefully. "You mean she is being sent here to live?" The guard's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. "The Emperor believes she will be well suited to human company. We will return for her belongings." The guards turned and walked back toward their ship without another word. The airlock closed behind them. The ship detached and flew away into the darkness. And Princess stood alone in the docking bay, still staring at the floor. Ho understood then. This was not a gift. This was a joke. The Emperor had sent his daughter to a tiny human station at the edge of nowhere. He had sent her because he wanted to get rid of her, because by standards she was not beautiful, because she was an embarrassment to him. Ho felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry would not help anyone right now. He walked toward the princess slowly, the way one might approach a frightened animal. She flinched when he got close, as if expecting him to say something cruel. "Princess," he said softly. She finally looked up. Her purple eyes were filled with shame and fear. "You do not need to call me that," she whispered. Her voice was quiet, barely louder than the hum of the station's systems. "I am no princess anymore. The Emperor has made that clear." "What should I call you then?" She hesitated. "Just please." Ho nodded. "Okay, my name is Ho. I am a mechanic here." He gestured toward Bin. "This is Park Bin. She handles communications." Bin stepped forward with a warm smile. "Welcome to 7. It is not much, but it is home." Looked between them, confusion spreading across her face. "You are not angry that I was sent here?" "Why would we be angry at you?" Ho asked. "Because I am a burden. A joke. My father sent me here to insult your people, to show that he thinks so little of humans that he would give you his most worthless child. The words came out broken, and Ho could see the years of pain behind them. How long had she been told she was worthless? How many times had she been made to feel like a mistake? He shook his head slowly. I do not see a joke. I see a woman who has traveled a long way from home, a woman who looks tired and scared. He paused. I have spare quarters next to my workshop. They are small, but they are warm and clean. You can stay there for as long as you need. Stared at him as if he had spoken a language she did not understand. You would give me a place to live, just like that. Why not? Because, she struggled for words, because I have nothing to offer. I cannot give you anything in return. Ho smiled, just a small one. I am a mechanic. I fix broken things. I do not ask for payment before I know what needs fixing. He gestured toward the corridor. Come, you must be hungry. I am not a great cook, but I can make soup. Did not move for a long moment. She looked at Ho, then at Bin, then back at Ho. Something changed in her eyes. The fear did not disappear, but something else appeared beside it. Something that might have been hope. Soup, she repeated, as if testing the word. Yes, it is a human food, warm and simple, good for cold nights and long journeys. Finally took a step forward, then another. She walked beside Ho as he led her through the station corridors, past the humming machinery and flickering lights. Bin watched them go and smiled to herself. She had known Ho for 5 years. She had never seen him offer his home to anyone before. The quiet mechanic who kept to himself, who ate alone and rarely spoke more than a few words at a time, had just opened his door to a stranger from the stars. In his small kitchen, Ho heated soup while sat at his tiny table. She looked around at the shelves filled with tools and spare parts, at the old books stacked in the corner, at the window that showed the endless stars outside. It is quiet here, she said. Yes, Ho agreed. I like the quiet. So do I. She looked at him as he placed a bowl of soup in front of her. My father's palace was always loud, always full of people telling me what I was doing wrong, how I should look, how I should act, how I should be less myself. Ho sat across from her with his own bowl. That sounds exhausting. Picked up her spoon and looked at the soup. It was. She took a small sip, and her eyes widened. This is good, she said, surprise filling her voice. I told you, simple and warm, nothing fancy. Took another sip, and then another. She ate the entire bowl in silence, and when she was done, she looked at Ho with tears forming in the corners of her purple eyes. Thank you, she whispered. No one has ever just been kind to me, without wanting something, without judging me first. Ho did not know what to say, so he simply nodded and refilled her bowl. Outside the window, the stars continued their silent watch, and somewhere in the empire, Emperor sat on his throne, laughing at the joke he had played on the primitive humans. He had no idea that his act had just given his daughter the greatest gift she had ever received. A chance to be seen for who she truly was. 3 weeks passed on 7 Station, and began to understand that she had landed in a very strange place. Strange because no one was cruel to her. Strange because Ho continued to be kind every single day without asking for anything in return. Strange because for the first time in her life, she woke up each morning without dreading what the day would bring. She still lived in the small quarters next to Ho's workshop. The room was tiny compared to her chambers in the palace, but she found that she did not mind. There was a bed, a small desk, and a window that looked out at the stars. It was enough. It was more than enough. Every morning, Ho would knock on her door and invite her to share breakfast with him. Simple human food, bread and eggs, sometimes fruit from the supply ships. He never commented on how much she ate. He never looked at her body with disgust the way her family had. He just poured her tea and asked if she had slept well. On the 4th week, finally worked up the courage to ask the question that had been burning inside her since she arrived. Why are you doing this? Ho looked up from the engine part he was cleaning. Doing what? Being kind to me, feeding me, letting me stay here. She gripped her teacup tightly. I know why my father sent me. He wanted to insult humans. He thought you would reject me and send me back in shame, and then he could use it as an excuse to break the trade agreement. Ho set down the engine part and met her eyes. And what would happen to you if we sent you back? Stomach turned cold. I would be punished, probably locked away somewhere. My father does not tolerate failure. Then why would I send you back? She stared at him. Because I am nothing, I am a burden, I am. You are a person, Ho interrupted, his voice calm but firm. You are a person who was hurt by her own family. That makes me angry at them, not at you. Felt tears threatening to spill from her eyes. She blinked them away and looked down at her tea. I do not understand humans, she whispered. Ho smiled slightly. That is okay. Most days I do not understand humans either. That made her laugh. It was a small laugh, surprised and quiet, but it was the first time she had laughed in years. Later that day, wandered into Ho's workshop while he was working on a damaged cargo ship. She watched him from the doorway, fascinated by the way his hands moved across the machinery. He knew exactly where every wire should go, exactly which bolt needed tightening. You are very skilled, she said. Ho glanced back at her. I have been doing this for a long time. Ships make sense to me. People are harder. Stepped closer, looking at the engine he was repairing. This is a class cargo vessel, yes, second generation. Ho paused. You know ships? A little. She felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. When I was young, I used to sneak into the palace engineering bay. I would watch the mechanics work. Sometimes they would let me help with small things. Her voice grew quieter. My father found out when I was 14. He was furious. He said it was shameful for a princess to dirty her hands with machines. He forbade me from ever going back. Ho was quiet for a moment. Then he held out a wrench toward her. Would you like to help? Stared at the wrench like it was made of gold. You would let me. This station does not have many rules, and I could use an extra pair of hands. She took the wrench carefully, as if afraid it might disappear if she moved too fast. For the next 3 hours, she worked beside Ho on the cargo ship's engine. She remembered more than she thought she would. Her hands moved with surprising confidence, finding problems and fixing them. When they finally finished, the engine hummed to life smoothly. Ho nodded with approval. You are not bad at this, he said. Actually, you are quite good. Felt warmth spread through her chest, pride. She had almost forgotten what it felt like. Thank you, she said. Thank you for letting me help. From that day forward, became Ho's assistant. She spent her mornings learning the systems of different alien ships and her afternoons working beside him in the workshop. She discovered that she loved the work. She loved solving problems. She loved the feeling of making something broken become whole again. Ben noticed the change in both of them. I have never seen Ho talk so much, she told one evening in the station's small cafeteria. Usually I have to drag words out of him, but when he is with you, he actually has conversations. Smiled shyly, he is a good teacher. Ben gave her a knowing look. And you are good for him, he has been alone for too long. Before could respond, the station's alert system beeped. A ship was approaching. Ben checked her communicator and frowned. Diplomatic vessel, she said. They are requesting permission to dock. His blood turned to ice. My father sent them. We do not know that yet. I know it, stood up, her hands trembling. They have come to check on me to make sure I am suffering. The diplomats arrived an hour later. There were 2 of them, tall and silver and coldly beautiful. They looked around the station with obvious disgust, as if the very air was beneath them. Ho met them in the docking bay at his side. She kept her head high, but he could see the fear in her eyes. We are here on behalf of Emperor, the lead diplomat announced. We have come to observe the gift that was sent to this station. You mean Princess? Ho asked calmly. The diplomat smiled thinly. We were told she would be miserable by now, living among primitives, eating barbaric food, surrounded by ugliness. He looked at with cruel amusement. Tell me, Princess, how terrible has your punishment been? Opened her mouth to speak, but Ho stepped forward first. Princess is not being punished. She is living and working at this station as a valued member of our community. The diplomat blinked, working. Yes, she is an excellent mechanic. We are lucky to have her skills. The two diplomats looked at each other, confusion flickering across their perfect faces. That is not what we expected, the second diplomat admitted. What did you expect? Ho asked. We expected her to be begging to return home. We expected her to be starving and alone and desperate. The diplomat's eyes narrowed. The emperor will not be pleased to hear that his gesture has failed. His gesture's voice was stronger now. His gesture was to throw away his own daughter like garbage. If that gesture has failed, perhaps the failure is his, not mine. The diplomats stared at her in shock. No one spoke to them this way. No one challenged the emperor's will. Ho felt a small surge of pride. The frightened woman who had arrived 3 weeks ago was finding her voice. The diplomats left within the hour, their mission incomplete. They had come to collect stories of human cruelty and suffering. Instead, they had found something that did not fit their understanding of the universe. They had found a princess who was happy. That night sat in Ho's workshop, staring at the stars through the window. They will tell my father, she said quietly. He will be angry. He wanted me to suffer. Ho sat beside her. Are you afraid? Yes, she turned to look at him. But not as afraid as I used to be. Being here with you and Ben, I have remembered something I forgot long ago. What is that? That I am allowed to exist, that I do not have to earn my place in the universe by being thin enough or quiet enough or invisible enough. She took a shaky breath. I am allowed to take up space. I am allowed to be seen. Ho nodded slowly. You are, and anyone who tries to tell you otherwise will have to go through me first. Smiled, and this time, the tears that fell from her eyes were not from sadness. Far away, in the golden halls of the palace, Emperor received the diplomat's report. His face grew dark with rage as he listened. His joke had failed. His worthless daughter had found something that should have been impossible. She had found a place where she belonged. The emperor stared at the stars from his throne room window and began to plan his next move. If his daughter would not suffer on her own, he would make sure she suffered by force. No one escaped his judgment, not even his own blood. 2 months after arrived at 7, she realized that something had changed inside her. She no longer woke up hating herself. It was a strange feeling. For as long as she could remember, the first thought in her mind each morning had been the same. You are wrong. You are ugly. You are a mistake. But now, when she opened her eyes and saw the small room that had become her home, she felt something different. She felt like herself, and for the first time, that did not feel like a punishment. The change had happened slowly, built from small moments. From Ho teaching her how to repair a quantum relay, from Ben laughing at her jokes, from the traders who came to the station and treated her like a person instead of a political symbol. One evening, found herself asking the question that had lived in her heart for years. She and Ho were sitting on the observation deck, watching a distant nebula glow purple and blue against the black of space. They had just finished a long day of repairs, and muscles were tired in a way that felt good. Ho, she said quietly, can I ask you something? Of course. She hesitated, then forced the words out. Why are you not disgusted by me? Ho turned to look at her, confusion on his face. Why would I be disgusted? Because of how I look, gestured at her body. I know what I am. I am large. I am soft. By standards, I am wrong. My father used to say that looking at me made him sick. My sisters would not stand near me because they were afraid my ugliness would spread to them. She waited for Ho to agree, to finally admit that he had been pretending all along. Instead, he shook his head slowly. I do not see what you see, he said. When I look at you, I see someone who is kind, someone who works hard and learns fast, someone whose eyes light up when she solves a difficult problem. He paused. I see someone who is beautiful. Felt her breath catch in her throat. Beautiful me. Yes, but I am not thin. I am not delicate. I am not. You are not standard, Ho interrupted gently. But you are not living on a world anymore, and humans, we see beauty in many forms, we always have. Did not know what to say. No one had ever called her beautiful before. The word had always been used to describe what she was not. I do not understand, she whispered. Ho looked back at the nebula. When I was young, I did not fit with other humans either. I was too quiet, too strange. I preferred machines to people. Other children thought I was weird. Even my own family did not know what to do with me. He smiled sadly. I came to the frontier because I wanted to find a place where I could just exist without being judged. And did you find it? I found work, I found peace. He glanced at her. But I was still alone until you arrived. Felt warmth spread through her chest. I am glad I came here. Even if my father meant it as a punishment, I am glad. So am I. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars, and something shifted between them, something unspoken but understood. They were two outcasts who had found each other in the vastness of space, two broken pieces that somehow fit together. The next few weeks were the happiest of life. She threw herself into learning everything Ho could teach her. She studied the engine systems of a dozen different species. She learned to read error codes and diagnose problems by sound alone. She discovered that she had a gift for seeing patterns that others missed. One day, a trading vessel arrived at the station with critical engine damage. The captain was a large, rock-skinned alien named who had been stranded in space for days. My engineer died 2 years ago, rumbled. No one has been able to fix my ship properly since. Every station I visit, they make it worse. Ho examined the engine and frowned. This is badly damaged. The previous repairs were done wrong. It will take time to undo the mistakes. How long? 3 days, maybe 4. Stone face fell. I cannot wait that long. I have cargo that will spoil. Stepped forward, studying the engine with sharp eyes. What if we reroute the power flow through the secondary conduits? We could bypass the damaged sections entirely. Ho looked at her. That would require recalibrating the entire thrust system. I know, but if we split the work, I can handle the calibrations while you repair the primary connections. She turned to. We could have you flying in 12 hours. Stared at her. You are. I am. I have never met a who would dirty their hands with engine work. Smiled. I am not like other. They worked through the night. Ho handled the heavy repairs while made precise adjustments to the calibration systems. They moved around each other like dancers, anticipating what the other needed before they asked. When the sun rose over the station's artificial horizon, ship hummed with perfect power. The captain paid them triple the usual fee. I will tell everyone I meet about this station, he promised. The human mechanic and his partner, best repair team in the sector. Word spread quickly. Within weeks, ships were traveling extra distances to reach 7. Traders who had heard stories of the strange partnership came to see it for themselves. They found a quiet human man and a silver-skinned woman working side by side, fixing ships that other stations had given up on. Had never felt so proud in her entire life. One night, Ben found her alone in the cafeteria, staring at a message on her communicator. What is wrong? Ben asked. Handed her the device. The message was from an unknown source, but the royal seal at the bottom made the sender clear. It was from her younger sister, Nara. Your story has reached the message read. People are talking about you, the exiled princess who found happiness among the humans. Some say you are a disgrace, but others are starting to wonder. They are starting to ask why our standards are so cruel, why we throw away our own children for being different. Father is furious. He has forbidden anyone from speaking your name, but I wanted you to know that you have not been forgotten, and you are not as alone as you think. Felt tears rolling down her cheeks. She was always the kindest of my sisters, she said softly. I did not think she would risk contacting me. Ben put a hand on her shoulder. You are changing things just by existing, just by being happy. I did not mean to start a revolution. The best revolutions are never planned. They just happen when someone decides to live their truth. Later that night told Ho about the message. He listened quietly, then nodded. Your father will not like this, he said. No, he will not. Are you afraid? Thought about it. She thought about the palace where she had spent years feeling worthless. She thought about the station where she had learned to feel whole. She thought about Ho, sitting beside her in the dim light of the workshop. Yes, she admitted, but I am tired of letting fear control me. Whatever comes next, I want to face it standing up. Ho reached out and took her hand. It was the first time he had touched her like that. His fingers were rough from years of work, but his grip was gentle. You will not face it alone, he said. Squeezed his hand and believed him. Far across the galaxy, Emperor sat in his war room, surrounded by generals and advisors. The message from Seven Station had spread further than he could contain. His shameful daughter had become a symbol of rebellion. This could not stand. Prepare the warship Crimson Fang, he commanded. I want my daughter retrieved, by force if necessary. His generals bowed. And the human station, one asked. The Emperor's eyes were cold as ice. Destroy it, destroy everything. I want no witnesses left to tell this story. The wheels of war began to turn, and on a tiny station at the edge of human space, and Ho had no idea what was coming for them. The Crimson Fang dropped out of hyperspace like a blade cutting through silk. Saw it first. She was in the observation deck, enjoying her morning tea, when the massive warship appeared in the viewport. Her cup fell from her hands and shattered on the floor. The ship was enormous, a destroyer built for war. Its red hull gleamed like fresh blood against the stars. Ho, she screamed into her communicator. Ho, they are here. Within minutes, the entire station was on alert. There were only 12 people living on 7, 12 humans and 1 exile against a warship with a crew of 300. Ho found in the observation deck, staring at the destroyer with terror in her eyes. My father sent them, she whispered. He actually sent them, I thought. I hoped he would just forget about me. Can you contact them? Ho asked. Maybe we can negotiate. Before could answer, the station's communication system crackled to life. A cold voice filled the air. This is Commander of the Crimson Fang, speaking on behalf of Emperor. We are here to retrieve the traitor known as former Princess of the Empire. Surrender her immediately, or we will destroy your station. Ben's voice came through the speakers next, tight with controlled fear. Commander, this station is under human jurisdiction. We have no authority to surrender anyone. Then you will share her fate. You have 1 hour to comply. The communication cut off. Turned to Ho, her face pale. You have to give me to them. I will not let everyone die because of me. No. Ho, please, they will kill you all. They will destroy the station. I cannot let that happen. Ho took her hands in his. Listen to me. We are not giving you to anyone. You are not cargo. You are not a gift. You are a person and you have the right to choose your own life. But I have already sent a signal to every ship in this sector. Traders, merchants, anyone who owes us a favor. Help is coming. Stared at him. You would fight a warship for me. I would fight 1,000 warships for you. The words hung in the air between them. Ho had never said anything like that before. He had never been someone who spoke of such things. But in this moment, facing death, the truth came out easily. "Why?" asked her voice breaking. "Because you matter. Because in the 3 months you have been here, you have made this station feel like home. You have made me feel like I belong somewhere." He squeezed her hands. "I am not good with words. I never have been. But I know that losing you would be worse than losing my life." Felt tears streaming down her face. "You foolish human." "Yes, I am." Bin's voice interrupted them. "Ho, I have an idea. It is crazy, but it might buy us time." "Tell me." "According to law, if someone makes a formal courtship claim on a member of the royal family, the claim must be heard by the emperor himself. It is an old law from before the empire was unified. If you declare your intention to court, they cannot legally take her without the emperor's direct judgment." Ho looked at, "Is this true?" His eyes widened. "Yes, the law of bonding rights, but you would be declaring yourself to the entire empire. My father would see it as the ultimate insult." "Good, I want him to see it." Ho walked to the communication console and opened a channel to the Crimson Fang. "Commander, this is Ho, senior mechanic of 7 Station. Under the ancient law of bonding rights, I formally declare my intention to Court of House. By your own traditions, you cannot remove her from this station until the Emperor himself rules on my claim." There was silence on the other end. Then Commander's voice came back, thick with disbelief. "You, a human, you dare to claim courtship rights over a daughter of the Emperor?" "I dare." "This is absurd. You are a primitive creature from a backwater planet. The Emperor will never." "Then let him tell me himself." More silence. Then a new voice filled the communication channel, older, colder, filled with centuries of pride and contempt. "Emperor." "So, the primitive mechanic thinks he is worthy of my blood." The Emperor's laugh was like ice cracking. "I sent to your station as a joke. I thought you would reject her as any sensible species would. Instead, you claim to want her." "I do." "Why, she is the shame of my house. Fat, soft, useless for anything except embarrassment. What could you possibly see in her?" Ho's voice was calm and steady. "I see a woman who is brilliant with machines. I see someone who is kind to everyone she meets. I see a person who has survived years of cruelty and still has a heart big enough to care about others." He paused. "I see someone who is beautiful in ways you will never understand." The Emperor's voice turned sharp. "You insult me, human." "No, you insult yourself. You threw away your own daughter because she did not match your narrow idea of perfection. You are so blind to real beauty that you cannot see the treasure you discarded." Ho took a breath. "Is worth more than your entire empire, and I will stand beside her against anyone who says otherwise." Felt her heart pounding in her chest. No one had ever defended her like this. No one had ever valued her enough to risk their life. "Ho," she whispered. He looked at her and smiled. "I meant every word." On the communication channel, Emperor was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with rage. "Very well, human, you want my daughter. Then come and claim her. I hereby order Commander to—" The Emperor's words were cut off by a new alert on the station's sensors. Bin's voice rang out with sudden hope. "Multiple ships incoming. I count. 15, no, 20 vessels." Ho looked at the sensors. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace all around the station. Cargo vessels, trading ships, even a small human patrol cruiser. "These are all ships we have repaired," said in amazement. "Traders we helped, captains we saved." His voice came through the communication system. 7 Station, this is Captain. We received your distress call. You fixed my ship when no one else could. Now I am here to return the favor." More voices followed. A dozen captains, all declaring their support, all willing to stand against a warship to protect the station that had helped them. Commander's voice was uncertain now. Emperor, the tactical situation has changed. These ships are small, but together they could damage the Crimson Fang. Are you afraid, Commander? I am cautious. Starting a war over this matter would draw attention. Questions would be asked. Your decision to send to the humans is not widely known. If we attack now, the truth will spread. The Emperor was silent. Ho spoke again. Emperor, you have a choice. You can start a war over a daughter you claim to hate. You can let the entire galaxy know that you sent your own child to a human station as a cruel joke, or you can walk away and pretend this never happened. You think I fear human judgment. I think you fear looking weak, and right now, attacking this station would make you look very weak indeed. The silence stretched on, held her breath, watching the Crimson Fang through the viewport. Finally, the Emperor spoke. Is hereby exiled from the Empire. She is no longer my daughter. She is no longer a member of House. She is nothing. His voice dripped with venom. Take her, human. Take her and know that you have received the worthless scraps from my table. The communication channel closed. The Crimson Fang began to turn away. Commander's voice came through one last time, quiet and private. For what it is worth, human, I think you have more honor than anyone in the Emperor's court. Take care of her. The warship jumped to hyperspace and vanished. Collapsed against Ho, her body shaking with relief and grief. Her father had disowned her completely. She was no longer a princess. She was no longer anything. I am sorry, Ho said softly, holding her. I know this is not how you wanted things to end. Looked up at him, tears in her eyes. No, this is exactly how I wanted things to end. I am free, Ho. For the first time in my life, I am truly free. Around them, the ships of their allies held position, a protective fleet of merchants and traders. People who had come from across the sector to defend a tiny station and the strange couple who ran it. Ben's voice came through the speakers, warm and relieved. Ho, you should see this. Every one of those captains is requesting permission to dock. They want to congratulate you. Ho looked at, what do you say, want to meet our new family? Smiled through her tears. Yes, I think I would like that very much. 1 year had passed since the Crimson Fang retreated into the darkness of space. 7 Station was no longer the quiet outpost it had once been. Ships arrived daily now, captains from a dozen species seeking the famous repair team that had become legend across the frontier. The human mechanic and his partner, the couple who had stood against an emperor and won, stood in the expanded workshop, guiding a young apprentice through the repair of a damaged navigation system. The apprentice was a nervous teenager who had arrived 3 months ago, hopping to learn from the best. Remember, said patiently, the power flow must be balanced before you reconnect the main line. If you rush, you will blow the entire circuit. Yes, teacher. She smiled at the title, teacher. A year ago, she had been a disgraced princess hiding in a tiny room. Now she was training the next generation of mechanics. The universe had a strange sense of humor. Ho appeared in the doorway, wiping grease from his hands. He caught her eye and nodded toward the corridor. She excused herself from the apprentice and followed him. What is it? She asked. A message came through, private channel. He handed her his communicator. Looked at the screen and felt her breath catch. The message was from Nara, her younger sister. Things are changing here, Nara had written. Your story has spread further than Father could control. Young are questioning the old ways. They ask why we value appearance over ability, why we discard our own children for being different. Father has banned all discussion of you, but that only makes people more curious. You have become a symbol, sister, a sign that there is another way to live. I do not know when I will be able to write again. Father watches everything now. But I wanted you to know that you are making a difference. Even from so far away, you are changing our world. Read the message twice, then handed the communicator back to Ho. She is brave, she said quietly, It is dangerous to send messages like this. She is your sister. Bravery runs in the family. Laugh softly. My family threw me away. Your old family, Ho took her hand. Your new family is right here. They walked together to the observation deck, where Bin was coordinating the arrival of a supply convoy. The station buzzed with activity. Mechanics moved between ships, traders haggled over parts, and everywhere there was the sound of engines being repaired and lives being rebuilt. This was what it helped create, a place where outcasts could find purpose, where broken things could be made whole. That evening, after the work was done and the station grew quiet, Ho asked to meet him in the workshop. She found him standing by his workbench, nervous in a way she had never seen before. His hands were fidgeting with something small, and he would not meet her eyes. Ho, what is wrong? He took a deep breath and finally looked at her. I have been thinking, he said slowly, about the day you arrived. I remember seeing you standing in the docking bay, afraid and alone. I remember thinking that someone had hurt you very badly, and I remember wanting to make it better, even though I did not know how. Stepped closer. You did make it better. You gave me a home. I gave you a room and some soup. You made the home yourself. He paused. But I have been wanting to ask you something for months now. I did not know how. Ask me anything. Ho opened his hand. In his palm sat a ring, simple and silver, with a small purple stone set in the center. The metal was rough, clearly handmade. I made this from salvage, he said. A piece of hull plating from the first ship we repaired together, and the stone came from a trading vessel that passed through last month. It is not fancy. It is not what a princess deserves, but I wanted it to be something real, something made by my hands like everything else we have built together. And I know I am not much. I am just a mechanic. I am not rich or important or... Ho! He stopped talking and looked at her. Was crying. Not sad tears, but the kind that came from a joy too big to contain. Are you asking me to marry you? Yes, his voice was barely a whisper. Will you? She did not answer with words. She threw her arms around him and kissed him, and that was all the answer either of them needed. When they finally pulled apart, Ho slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. I love you, he said. I have loved you since the day you laughed at my terrible joke about the quantum relay. That joke was truly terrible, agreed, but I loved you anyway. They stood together in the workshop, holding each other as the stars turned slowly outside the window. The wedding happened 1 month later. It was a small ceremony, held in the station's cargo bay because it was the only space big enough to hold everyone who wanted to attend. Captains came from across the sector. Traders and mechanics and outcasts of every species gathered to celebrate the union of the quiet human and the exiled princess. Bin performed the ceremony, reading vows that Ho and had written themselves. I promise to stand beside you, Ho said, in quiet moments and in chaos. I promise to value your mind, your heart, and your hands. I promise to never make you feel small or wrong or broken. I promise to choose you every day, said, not because I have to, but because you are the home I never knew I was searching for. I promise to build a life with you, piece by piece, the way we build everything, with patience, with care, and with love. When they kissed, the cargo bay erupted in cheers. Months later, a trader brought news from the Empire. Emperor had fallen ill. His perfect children fought among themselves for power, each one scheming and plotting against the others. The Golden Palace was full of whispers and fear. They say he sits alone in his throne room for hours, the trader told, staring at nothing. Some believe he is losing his mind. Felt a strange sadness, not for the emperor who had hurt her, but for the man who had been so afraid of difference that he threw away his own daughter. He had everything a ruler could want: power, wealth, beautiful children who met every standard. But he had never known love, not real love, the kind that came from being seen and accepted exactly as you were. He had a chance, she said quietly. He could have loved me, he chose not to. Ho put his arm around her. His loss, my gain. She smiled and leaned into him. When did you become so smooth with words? I have been practicing. That night looked out at the stars from their shared quarters. The same stars she had watched on her first night at the station, when everything had seemed hopeless. So much had changed. She was no longer a princess. She was a mechanic, a teacher, and a wife. She had friends who valued her. She had work that mattered. She had a husband who loved her exactly as she was. The Emperor had sent her here as a joke, a cruel prank meant to humiliate both her and the humans. But humans did not see the world the way they did. They did not value perfection over substance. They did not measure worth by appearance alone. They valued kindness. They valued skill. They valued the quiet courage it took to be different in a universe that demanded sameness. Emperor had sent his daughter to the humans expecting them to reject her. Instead, they had given her everything she ever wanted. A place to belong. A purpose worth pursuing. And love that asked for nothing except that she be herself. Touched the ring on her finger and smiled. The humans had not wanted perfection. They had wanted something real. And in her, they had found exactly what they were looking for. Just as she had found them,